Good morning, everybody. This is Andrew from Andrew's Weather Center, bringing you an update about 23 minutes past the 6 o'clock hour on this morning of Saturday, October the 8th. And I was thinking to myself, it's crazy how little these storms move. You're so used to forecasting uh, really small scale storms or severe thunderstorms that move so quickly. I went to bed around midnight and then woke up and this had moved, 40 or 60 miles, and how big these things are actually. But uh, this thing might just get away without making a landfall, but it is about 20 miles southeast of Hilton Head Island, right around here. This is Edisto Beach in here. Charleston is up here, and it is just scraping right along, bringing those hurricane force winds to the Category 2. The pressure has risen quite a bit. It is 8 millibars. It has risen 8 millibars since the 5 a.m. update, and it is slightly weakening, and the bottom half of the system has kind of weakened quite a bit, which is indicative of the storm losing some strength, but still has plenty of moisture draw off of the Atlantic Ocean. So very, very wet day for central and eastern South Carolina and all along the coast. And the worst is unfortunately yet to come for areas like Charleston, Myrtle Beach up here. And if we jump to the Raleigh radar, these outer bands are starting to affect parts of North Carolina as well, especially down here in the Sand Hills and south central North Carolina down at the beaches. One reporter from WRIL News was in Wrightsville Beach already getting slammed by some winds, and very, very gusty winds and heavy rain. And this will continue all day as these outer bands continue to lash the central part of North Carolina. Outside of my window right now, it's dry. I'm right in this area where the radar is, but that will not last for long. And throughout this morning, rain will pick up, rain will increase in intensity, and anywhere you see this yellow hue, when that's over your house, it's going to be driving rain. If you are driving, that driving rain is going to make it extremely difficult to see, so I still advise against driving. You get this new scan here. The rain just continues to approach and is moving very quickly. Very hazardous travel conditions, so if you must travel, exercise extreme caution. Remember that for every person that's not on the road, that's one less car that leads to congestion or traffic jams in this weather. And protecting yourself and those who you may be driving is very important. So just minimize travel at all costs. I don't care if it's the most happening Halloween party or the best fall festival ever. It's not worth going today. Just stay home. Enjoy the Saturday with your family. It's not worth getting out on the roads and driving in this mess because it's just going to last all day and it's going to be pretty miserable. So I would recommend grabbing your cup of coffee this morning and just watching the rain come down, because that's the best course of action as this monster just continues to go up the East Coast. And if we look at the bigger picture here, you can see that overnight, over the past 5 or 6 hours, not much has changed. It's pulling all this moisture off the Atlantic, sending it right into the Carolinas. Poor eastern South Carolina is going to get a tremendous amount of rainfall totals before this is said and done, as this thing skirts off the coast. Right here you can see in the hurricane track, whoops, right here. It may get away, like I said, just without making a landfall, but as it continues to curve, it's following the track pretty well so far. It seems to be verifying, so as this continues to veer off the coast, that range is going to approach. And usually when systems get around here, they start to accelerate, but Matthew's been pretty sluggish in terms of usually it starts zipping off right here and going off a lot quicker, but still kind of slow. So this is still going to be hanging around 2 a.m. Sunday, as you can see. So it's not going to make a lot of progress, which is why this is such a huge rain concern. And it's led to a lot of power outages in Georgia. Looks like about 280,000 power outages down there, with the most affected areas around Savannah and Brunswick. And that's obviously going to lead to issues to get that repaired. A lot of people in the dark with this storm, which just makes it far worse. And then a similar story in South Carolina. 31,000 here in this area, 40,000, 71,000, 77,000. It totals up very quickly, all the way up into Columbia. I saw a report last night where sections of I-95, Interstate 95, were impassable because of floodwaters from a nearby river and down trees. So obviously this storm has far-reaching impacts far inland, and that could be the story for central North Carolina today as trees go down, as urban flooding increases. A lot of rivers may increase to minor or major flood stage, and I know a lot of flood warnings have been in place that end well into next week for these floodwaters that may rise. And if we go back and look at the 6 a.m. update, that just came out a couple minutes ago, you can see a private weather station on Tybee Island recorded a wind gust of 93 miles per hour still. This storm still has winds of 105 miles per hour. The pressure has risen 8 millibars to 955, still moving north-northeast at 12 miles per hour. Like I said, pretty slow for an East Coast system like this. 20 miles east of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. So once again, this has not made an official landfall, and it may just get by with causing a lot of issues without making one, just to show you how vast these systems are and how they don't have to make an official landfall to have very detrimental impacts. A wind gust of 85 miles per hour on Hilton Head Island. So those hurricane force winds and those gusts are still present, but only in that northern section of the eye wall that's very close to the coast. So in those areas that I showed going into central North Carolina, that's where you're going to get your anywhere from 30 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, depending on just where you are. But those hurricane force winds are limited to the coast, and probably areas like Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Wrightsville Beach, areas like that are where most of those wind issues are going to occur. It's just a lot of a rain issue in central North Carolina. As for storm surge, which is the main issue with this storm, St. Johns River, 3 feet of storm surge inundation, which I would assume to take as 3 feet of standing water. Reported at Racy Point tide gauge, about 4.8 feet of storm surge inundation was reported at Fort Pulaski, Georgia, near Savannah, and 3.5 feet of storm surge in Charleston, South Carolina. So this is a strange situation because not only are there's these surge impacts, but it's very far-reaching. Usually when you have a landfalling hurricane, there's one section east of a city or west of a city that's just the centralized location where the worst damage is had and the worst impacts are seen. But this is a very unique storm that it's just kind of tracing the East Coast. So a lot of issues with that and how it's creating storm surge issues for such a vast area all up the East Coast. I mean, the entire Georgia coast is getting hammered there, so that's not good. I already showed you the track where it continues to do so. And just to show the vastness of the system one more time, for reference, North Carolina is 503 miles across. So this storm has obviously expanded, and far western North Carolina in the mountains and the foothills may get just out of having some rain here, because you can see this kind of interaction here where this rain might just get cut off, and I'll show that in a moment in this future modeling. But this is still the vast system, still has far-reaching impacts. So looking like Matthew is maybe, I would say, about 500 to 550 miles in diameter for this radar isn't picking up some of these easterly bands, but still a very vast system, far-reaching impacts. And like I said, this modeling here will show you the high-resolution rapid refresh, which is just a simulated radar. And as we go into the future, you can see these bands kind of just lashing the south central area of North Carolina, where there's expected to be upwards of 8, 9, 10 inches of rain, causing some flooding issues. Downed trees are a concern, and this thing is still hanging around 18 hours later from this point that initialized at 5 a.m. So you can see that pretty slow moving system, going to be with us for a long time. Today can be classified as a total washout. Not much in the way of any let up from the rain, very steady, constant rain situation. So just stay indoors, stay safe. If you have any loved ones in South Carolina, I would highly advise to check on them, especially in the Charleston area, where some inundation is being reported and some storm surge likely on the southern and southeastern North Carolina coast down here. So just be advised, stay safe, and try to stay dry as Hurricane Matthew slowly trudges along the East Coast and gives us quite a soggy and miserable day. And do not drive if at all possible. Try to minimize travel and stay safe, and I will see you in the next update.